Today on the official Marvel podcast, it's finally here. Marvel Television's Agatha All Along is out now. And to celebrate, we're talking to the star of the series, Kathryn Hahn.
It's exciting that I've been able to grow alongside makers of things that want to explore women's stories.
That's not all. We'll also hear from Agatha All Along production designer John Collins and costume designer Daniel Sellen.
With the costumes, we get to go to all of these different spaces. It's a very wide scope and a wide spectrum of things that we get to explore.
And last but not least, we shine a staff spotlight on Marvel Games creative development manager Dakota Masonette.
I can't preach enough that passion is the lifeblood of creation.
I'm Raylo.
And I'm Sade Spence.
And this is the official Marvel podcast.
Ray, so today is premiere day of Agatha All Along. What are your plans for tonight?
Sade, I said this in the last podcast episode when I was so excited about Agatha All Along dropping, but this is the start of spooky season for me. Agatha is it. Forget October 1st. It's today, my friends. I've even painted my nails black and purple to prove it. But I know,
you guys can't see it.
Oh, yeah, you can't see it right now, but trust that they look beautiful, they're pointy, they're witchy, and they're app. Kathryn would be proud. I am going to get together all my witchiest best friends, and we are going to cuddle up and watch maybe 5 times by the time we fall asleep. I'm not sure. What are your plans, Sade?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Agatha, she is that witch, and I am so excited just to watch it, get some spooky looking stuff together. I love spooky season. It's my favorite. So going to be doing the same with my husband.
Wait, hang on. For our listeners that didn't hear that slight mumble, I'm pretty sure Sade just said husband, which is a big congratulatory moment because you just got married. You just got back from your honeymoon.
I did. Honestly, it's still so strange to say coming out of my mouth. So sometimes I'm like, my husband? But yes, it's been such a great moment and just such a refresh to, start life with someone. So yeah, but we will be binging Agatha All Along together. So it's great to have a partner that's going to have to watch everything with me.
If
Marvel.
I could call out one superpower you have right now, it would be glowing, blushing, stunning.
Thank you. It's the honeymoon glow, probably. Now, we won't be diving into any spoilers or other immediate reactions just yet, but we will be doing so starting next episode.
That's right. We're going to be nice and give you a week to watch and catch up on the latest episodes of Agatha All Along before we dive into our potentially and most likely probably spoilery reactions.
And that includes reactions from the cast and creators of Agatha All Along as well. So starting next week, we're going to talk about the biggest plot twists, the most jaw-dropping scenes, and with the people who brought them to life.
In fact, while looking back at Agatha's debut in Marvel Studios' WandaVision, Kathryn Hahn says that she's still in disbelief that a character like Agatha Harkness became such a phenomenon and a breakout star.
I mean, I had not heard of Agatha Harkness. She doesn't scream from the Marvel canon this is the character that needs to be highlighted, the centuries old witch, nanny. But she was so deliciously dropped into WandaVision and used in such a fun way. And the writing was so incredible in that show. Jack Schaefer, who also wrote all of these episodes with an amazing writing team. And Mary Livanos, who is the producer on both, who's incredible, really had a very strong vision for where Agatha could go. And to find people with that singular and unique of a vision, no pun intended, is so rare. Hook, line, and sinker, I would have followed them anywhere after WandaVision.
While Kathryn Hahn is thrilled for both Jack Schaefer and Mary Livanos to return to the world of Agatha Harkness, that's just one of the many aspects about this project that inspires her.
It's exciting that I've been able to grow alongside makers of things that want to explore women's stories. And I mean, who doesn't want to play a witch? It's the coolest and dangerous and threatening and like all the things like so especially at this age in my life to be able to like have been able to work that out has been so freaking fun. Really, really fun to be funny and mischievous and feel all the feelings and not be in this huge scale and not feel ashamed or embarrassed or any of those things that like, real life sometimes tells us that we have to be or whatever, that we should be. To throw all that out the window was so liberating, I think, for all of us. It was really fun.
Kathryn also says that the best part about playing a character like Agatha Harkness, outside of, having superpowers, is that Agatha's also a performer.
So it was very fun to be able to play all these different versions. Like it really is about the evolution of like performance and acting. So like that kind of meta journey was really fun. Styles of acting, like it gets really, really real. And then she takes really big swings. So that all was very fun in both WandaVision and in Agatha All Along.
For Agatha All Along, Hahn also got to bring incredible musical moments to life, and not to mention sing alongside her co-star and Broadway legend Patti LuPone.
Oh, I mean, first of all, you can't. I had to just like la 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 because, I mean, how could you ever try to put yourself in the same category as Patti LuPone? It was too much. So you just had to just sing out and hope that it blends in somewhere. And to have to be able to sing in harmony again for the first time for Agatha was really beautiful for all of us. Like the rehearsals together, all of it was amazing.
And as for some of her other co-stars, Kathryn's relationship with Joe Locke has extended beyond their characters' rapport.
When I met him in the chemistry read, I saw something behind his eyes that was so deep and difficult to find. Like he has for being so young, he has such a soul, like such a profound presence. And we all the women in this feel so freaking protective of him and have from the beginning because so much has happened in his life in such a short period of time. And he's still like such a sweetheart. And I loved working with him. So yeah, he's a special one, really, really special.
Now, while we heard from Kathryn Hahn about her portrayal, there's a lot more that goes into a character than just the performance. There's hair, there's makeup, costumes, and even production design. And now I know we said we weren't going to spoil anything from the first 2 episodes, but the following will get into some of the series' antagonists. So consider this a minor spoiler warning.
That's right, Sade. Luckily, we got a chance to hear from costume designer Daniel Sellin on how they help bring the characters of Agatha All Along to life through their attire.
With the costumes, we get to go to all of these different spaces. It's a true scope, a very wide scope and a wide spectrum of things that we get to explore. And that is not only deeply satisfying because we're not stuck in a narrow lane of design, but also incredibly challenging because we have to figure out what are the rules of, for example, the world of the road, and how is the road as a character manipulating each of these witches.
One way to approach this is by incorporating the look and feel of different time periods, colors, and rules about the world, specifically the Witch's Road, that affect our heroes.
And so we took that and we sort of ran with their hero colors. And so we wanted to maintain certain silhouettes so that like Agatha often, her road witch look is this tailored long coat. So we wanted to carry that through so that the road was always transforming her into something that had details in the tailoring, or it was some kind of blazer or a coat that gave her some structure. And we maintained that lone crow, sharp, angular lines and silhouette.
Another way costumes are used to help portray characters is by invoking certain emotions and tones brought on by their roles in the series. This can be seen in the series' antagonists, the Salem Seven.
The Salem Seven was really exciting to put together. I had many ideas about it, and I think all of those ideas incorporated the use of lots of different kinds of black tones and dark charcoal tones, so that they were really rooted in shadows and dark magic. We wanted to portray the frustration that these witches have experienced over the course of several hundred years.
And as the series progresses, the anger and their thirst for revenge has transformed them, bringing out their animal characteristics. Creatures like owls, rats, foxes, crows, snakes, and more were incorporated into their costumes.
And so we see that both represented in the masks that they wear, which are specific to each animal, but also that they feel bound and they feel like they're behind a cage and they can't quite reach what they're wanting.
Now, if the costume designer helps bring the characters to life, then the production designer helps establish the world of Agatha All Along. Fortunately for us, we have production designer John Collins to help break down some of the series' locales, starting with Agatha's house, which has two different looks.
One of them is she is in her own delusion, that she's a detective. And so we have one look for that house, which is kind of a more put together look through her perspective when we're kind of doing this true crime kind of idea. And then when we see it again, it is much more disheveled, kind of through the eyes of teen, which is the reality of this tormented woman who is under a spell, who her life is kind of falling apart around her. So it's the same house, but we're dressing it in two different ways to show those two different ideas.
And while there are these dueling themes surrounding Agatha's home, there's also a third aesthetic incorporated in the house's full design that's creeping in the background.
It wasn't Agatha's house to begin with. Basically, she came into Westview and took over the house from somebody else. So we have that kind of third layer, but we do see a little bit of Agatha and her character in the color palette. So it's a largely like wood-toned and green space, but we also have peppered in a little bit of the Agatha purple and the lavenders that really help tie it in as her world.
As for the locales that John enjoyed designing the most, he says that the variety throughout the sets has been his favorite.
Typically, there's a through line and several sets kind of the same vein. But on this one, it's been really fun to do the trials. The trials are all very different. So it's fun because we're not having to do the same things over and over again. And, we've been encouraged to actually really go for it and not try to play it safe and do like the toned down safe version of any of this stuff. So it's been fun because we've been not only given the permission, but encouraged to be playful in some of these designs.
I truly can't wait to see what the trials have in store for our coven. But to find out for yourself, be sure to tune into Agatha All Along only on Disney+. Speaking of the folks working behind the scenes to bring the worlds of Marvel to life, Dakota Masonette is a creative development manager for Marvel Games. He's worked on games like Marvel Future Revolution and the upcoming Marvel Rivals.
That's right. And I was able to recently catch up with Dakota and get a little bit of the behind the scenes on what goes into making a Marvel game like Marvel Rivals.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dakota Masonette, and I'm Creative Development Manager at Marvel Games.
So can you talk a little bit about your connection to Marvel? Were you always a fan?
Yes, I have been a fan of Marvel since I was a kid. My dad gave me a copy of Devil Dinosaur #4, which featured Moon Boy and Devil Dino duking it out with some alien invaders. I was immediately sold. So I grew up with that, reading the comics, falling in love with the films and the games as I grew up. Yeah, I've been a fan for a very long time.
That's so beautiful. So now, how did you get your start as a creative development manager at Marvel Games?
I've been at Marvel for 5 years now. I started as a creative assistant, but before that, I went to school for creative writing, and I had a bunch of different jobs that involved writing. So copywriting, I even did red carpet interviews for a while. But after working in a marketing agency that focused on video games, I found my way here.
Awesome. So, can you also talk a little bit about the development process for creating storylines in Marvel games? Where do you start with something like that?
The one thing that I could really say when it comes to the story is that we guide our partners. So, we have lots of different partners across many different platforms. And the thing they have in common is that they are all each trying to tell a story. So for us, we are helping offer solutions to narrative problems and helping make sure that we are adding to the Marvel authenticity for each of these stories and making sure it flows. We really want our partners to feel like they are playing in a sandbox, the Marvel sandbox, the way they want to. At the end of the day, we're just trying to occasionally hand over certain toys or explain how to make them work and piece together when it comes to making their story come to life.
What would you say are some of the elements then that can make a great Marvel Games storyline?
Mm, mm. We always work on building a solid foundation. The core philosophy has a lot of different analogies, but the one that I'll go through is like making a game of chess. So we start with the pieces. Who are we putting into play? What do each of these characters and pieces do? Then we go to the board. Where are we? What is the iconic Marvel setting? Are we in New York? Are we off in space? Are we in the dark dimension? What are we doing? Then the placement. Then the placement. Who are these characters aligned with? Do they like each other here? Do they not like each other here? How do they know each other? What's the connective tissue between them all? Then the opening move, the inciting action. What's kicking off this story to get these pieces moving? And then the rest just kind of falls into place and everything moves accordingly until the pieces are in an end game. And hopefully it's one that feels authentic to each of the characters at the end of the day.
So, when you are establishing lore within the Marvel Universe, how do you work with other Marvel storytellers to make sure that it's in character, as you mentioned, for those heroes or villains?
That is a really great question. So we do work regularly in communication with our partners over at Marvel Publishing, Marvel Studios, sharing ideas and seeing what we're doing with these characters and making things feel authentic and unified in the directions that we're going. However, we are given a lot of leeway and freedom to work with these characters in the ways that make the most sense for our partners, as I mentioned, that the stories that they want to tell aren't impeded. And it's really like our internal voices with me and the rest of the creative team and the rest of the Marvel Games team as a whole, contributing ideas of how these characters are represented. And in the communications we share with the other departments, they are also adding to new things in their own way that we take inspiration from, but also try to push and tweak to make sure they feel right for whatever we're trying to do.
That is really cool. So let's also, it is. Let's also talk character selection. Why is that so important for a game?
So we say that Marvel is storytelling, but what is a story without the characters that we're picking? So as you said, the character selection is very important. I think one of the things that we look for is that Marvel's 85 years old. We have people that are coming from all walks of life, from all sorts of different eras of reading, that each have different favorite characters. It could be an all-star character like Hulk or someone lesser known like Jeff the Landshark. So it's important to pick characters that are like able to represent each of these potential players. So it's super important that we're picking a wide variety of these characters. Yes, we're giving the respect to these all-star landmarks of Marvel that have been around for ages, but we're also letting some of the newer characters get their share of the spotlight because you never know who is someone's favorite.
You know, you kind of talked about this and touched on it a little bit, but when you are creating the character lineup for a game, what specific elements are you looking at? What do you think makes a compelling lineup for fans and players?
Great question, Sade. We really do believe that it's gameplay first over at Marvel Games because if the gameplay isn't good, the feeling of the game itself won't really stick. So we are choosing characters that reflect the development of that gameplay and how awesome Marvel is across all of its many years. So let's take a look at
How about Marvel Rivals as an example?
You know what? That's a great example. We look at like teams, we have the X-Men, the Guardians, the Avengers, all these great families, and some are well known, some are lesser known. And we try to pick a 70-30 split. So 70% all-star characters, 25% curveballs, and 5% unknown. That curveball unknown one gets kind of fuzzy and gray, but at the end of the day, we're trying to pick a wide variety of characters that feel like we're celebrating all that Marvel has to offer and giving our players something new to experience as well as something that they are familiar with. So sure, you're coming to the table and Iron Man, Cap, Hulk, all these great landmarks, but you may not know who Luna Snow is. You may not know who Jeff the Landshark is. You might not know who Magic is, but you're coming and into this game and getting to experience them. And that kind of selection and thought process, that 70-30 ideal that we balance here, really flows through our choices that we make.
Okay, so let's talk about Luna Snow for a moment, because you have a poster of her behind you in your office.
I do.
Can you tell us about her and her relationship to Marvel games?
Sure. So Luna Snow is an original character from Marvel Future Fight, one of our mobile games with Netmarble Monster. She is a part-time K-pop star and a full-time superhero who uses her powers of light ice and dark ice to simultaneously heal her allies and also uses dark ice to damage her opponents. She got her start in Marvel Future Fight, but then she made her jump over to the comics in the War of the Realms event as a member of the New Agents of Atlas. From there, after she was in the comics for a bit through the New Agents of Atlas and Tiger Division, she has now since made her way to Marvel Rivals as one of our strategist characters. We definitely are aware that she is one of our more unknown picks and one of our more new characters, but we're really excited to give her a share of the stage with everybody else.
And you worked very closely on Marvel Rivals. So
Yes.
How did the world building for that game come together?
Oh, wow. It came together with a lot of passion. I want to give a huge shout out to the NetEase Games narrative team. They're incredibly passionate individuals that really love Marvel, and their ideas have always surprised us with the level of ambition that they have for storytelling in a third-person hero shooter. But from the early days of the project, we worked together to come up with the idea of Doctor Doom versus Doom 2099, two separate versions of this iconic supervillain that are duking it out across all of time, fusing together all of these different timelines in what we're calling the time stream entanglement. We wanted to create a world that was flexible enough to give us both the authentic versions of some Marvel characters and locations, as well as all new versions of these of Marvel locations, such as the Tokyo 2099. That's never been seen before in the comics, but the story allows for a different time period version of this iconic location. And then from there, we started putting together where these characters are from in terms of timelines, which ones knew each other, which ones didn't know each other, all that jazz. And then, as time has gone on, we've really polished everything to make it feel like it's come together naturally and it's flexible enough to support all these new ideas and crazy changes that either side is coming up with. But to really answer your question, the world building came together through love. The NetEase team, as well as our team, we love these characters and we love what we're making. So it's really just been a blast to cook with people that are really passionate about being in the kitchen.
Let them cook.
Let us cook, please.
Do you have a favorite element from Marvel Rivals that you think really sets it apart from the other Marvel games?
I do. So Marvel Rivals really celebrates the connection between Eastern and Western development ideals and creative ideals. I want to give a huge shout out to the NetEase Games team. They're incredibly passionate about Marvel. They're just as much in love with it as we are. So their ideas are always coming with they're surprising us with how ambitious they are. So these styles and these ideas that we're bringing together to make something completely unique are really just, they make the game so special to me. Everything from how we pick these characters to how we represent them in the game, the creative at its core just feels so special.
What advice do you have for someone who might be interested in working, as a creative development manager for games?
I would say create, but create for you. Create for your own sake. Do it like no one's watching. Making something for the sake of someone else or making it for some other need is not going to benefit you in the long run. What's benefiting you in the long run is your own care for your own story and feeling good about what you make each day. I can't preach enough that passion is the lifeblood of creation.
That is such fantastic advice. You said passion is the lifeblood? That was also very poetic. I'd like to put that out there as well. But I think it's very great and very honorable to do it for you. Thank you so much, Dakota.
Sade, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
As we just heard Dakota Mason mention, there's a Marvel hero who actually made their first appearance in a video game long before she appeared in a comic. She's a member of the Korean superhero team Tiger Division, an agent of Atlas, and even a member of the world-renowned K-pop group 4Lit. I'm of course talking about Luna Snow, aka Seol Hee, the Korean pop singer and superhero who uses her ice manipulation powers to protect the people in the Pacific Rim and across the globe. But she wasn't always a superhero. In 2019's Future Fight First, Luna Snow Issue 1, written by Alyssa Wong, she made her debut as a member of 4Lit, though her debut was cut short as the group was attacked by an evil science-based organization known as AIM. Amongst the chaos, she manages to cause the reactor to malfunction, leading to an explosion that frees her and her friends and leaves Seol with ice manipulating abilities. Using her newly acquired abilities, Seol goes after the leader of this group, Joro Spider. Joro Spider begins to mock her, claiming that she's supposed to be an entertainer, not a hero. And it's at this moment that Seol truly becomes Luna Snow, hitting Joro Spider back with the following: "I'm not trying to be a hero. Just because I'm not one doesn't mean I can't stand up to people like you."
Next week on the official Marvel podcast, we hear from the cast of Agatha All Along, including Kathryn Hahn, Aubrey Plaza, and Patti LuPone.
So when they posed a 450-year-old Sicilian witch, I went, okay, this is destiny, really. This is destiny.
Until then, be sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a review, and tell a friend about us. This episode of the official Marvel podcast was hosted by Sade Spence and myself, Ray Lowe.
Our producer is Jasmine Estrada,
with help from Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, Brad Barton, and Production Manager, Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Emma Munger.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Executive producers are Larissa Rosen and Jesse Berger.
Catch up on Agatha All Along. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you with spoilers next week.